we're doing more and more painted glass. What's the process for, um, first for painting glass, and then what's the process for matching it to previously painted glass?
So there's a couple of different techniques in painted glass, and those are going to vary depending on whether we're doing a restoration or whether we're doing manufacturing a completely new piece. Now, in a restoration, we'll obviously want to match the technique to whatever the original artist used. And there's two main ways that people paint on glass. One way is you take a piece of colored glass and then you generally just paint black paint onto the colored glass. The glass then gets fired in our kiln and it gets baked up to about 1250 degrees. And then we hold it there at that temperature, somewhere between 1250 and 1450 degrees. And we'll hold it there for a couple of hours until the paint melts into the glass. And then once the paint has melted into the glass, it becomes a part of the glass, so that when the glass cools down and you take the glass back out of the kiln again, then the paint is a part of the glass and it will never rub off because it's melted right into the glass. So in order for the paint to do that, it's not normal paints that you use, it's a mixture of ground up minerals and oils that are used as the paint. So anyway, that's method number one, using colored glass and black paint. Method number two, which is used more on hands and faces, is where you'll take clear glass and then all the colors will be painted onto the glass generally in layers. So you may have some flesh colors, some brown colors, some black colors, reds, blues. You can paint anything on that you want. And so, that's method number two. And those layers go on, separately. It's one firing each time, and one layer fires into the next layer. And then you just build up the depth of color using that method. A couple of interesting things. The yellow colors, if you want to fire a yellow color on, then that's what we call silver staining. And it's a different type of material that gets fired into the glass, and it has to be done on the opposite side of the glass from all the paint, because it's a toxic substance which will destroy all the rest of the paint. So often when you want to paint a blue color or a green color rather onto a piece of glass, you use blue paint on one side, yellow silver stain on the other side, and then the yellow and the blue with the light coming through together make a green color.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, they don't know that. Okay. That was perfect. And then I think just maybe let's talk a little bit about the process for identifying or categorizing and trying to match old stained glass styles. Do we paint on old glass if we can find it, or what's the process?
So matching styles is an interesting challenge for any stained glass artist. Some of the older windows that we see in churches were done using the method I described with the colored glass and the black paint. But what they actually did was they painted the whole piece of glass with black paint, and then they'll take kind of like a chopstick, and then go over the black paint and rub parts of it off to expose the glass, the colored glass underneath. So it's kind of like a reverse, it's kind of like a negative.
Yep.
And that way you can get individual strands of grass, for example, or it's used on leaves and foliage and things like that. And it's it's an interesting method of painting in glass. The brush strokes are also different with every artist. Some of them used larger brushes and smaller brushes and stippling techniques. And we're really fortunate in the artists that we have that do this work are experts at matching different techniques as well as being experts at painting. The other challenge is that normally you view painted glass from the back and not from the front. So once you've painted the piece and you put it into the window, normally the window's getting turned around. So you're actually looking at the back of what they painted. So you're looking at the reverse side. And it's amazing how something can look good one way and you turn it around and it doesn't look good. So the artists are always checking which way, when they're painting before the fire, they're always turning it around to look at it in different ways to make sure that it looks good before they fire it. Oftentimes, unfortunately, pieces of glass will break in the kiln. Not so much nowadays because we've got computerized kilns, but sometimes an artist could work for a week on a piece and then all of a sudden it just breaks in the kiln, which is kind of heartbreaking. So some of the more important pieces that they're painting, they'll paint sometimes a couple of different ones, so that you really hope that if you're doing a number of firings that you get one left at the end. And it's always easier to paint two than it is, or almost as easy to paint two as it is to paint one.
Okay.